What if everything beneath our feet is not what we've been told? Is it a real possibility, or just a figment of humanity's imagination, a mere urban legend? Is this rumor ultimately a good thing or a bad thing? Tonight, once again, we'll examine whether it's true or not from a Japanese perspective. Section 1. Hook. Right now, beneath your feet, something is happening that you cannot see, cannot feel, and cannot reach. For 1,000 miles down, at the center of the Earth, there is a solid iron ball approximately the size of the moon. It rotates, possibly at a different speed than the planet around it. It generates a magnetic field that shields all life on this planet from lethal solar radiation. We know this because of mathematics, because of seismic data, because of earthquake waves that travel through the planet and tell us, indirectly, what they pass through on the way. But here's the thing. No human being has ever been there. No probe has ever reached it. No drill has ever come close. The deepest hole ever drilled, the Kola super deep borehole in Russia, reached just 7.6 miles before the project was abandoned. The Earth's radius is nearly 4,000 miles. We have never directly observed 99.998% of this planet's interior. Everything we believe about what's down there is inferred, calculated, modeled. What if the models are wrong? What if the Earth, our Earth, the ground beneath everything we have ever built, everything we have ever known, is not what we think it is? For centuries, some of humanity's most brilliant and most eccentric minds have insisted that the answer to that question is more strange, more vast, and more inhabited than mainstream science will admit. Tonight, we go underground. Section 2. Introduction: the Hollow Earth Theory. The idea that our planet contains a vast, habitable interior space is one of the oldest, most persistent, and most culturally resonant ideas in human history. It has been proposed by serious scientists, embraced by mystics, written into some of the most beloved fiction ever published, incorporated into the mythology of indigenous cultures on every continent, pursued by military expeditions, and dismissed repeatedly and emphatically by mainstream geology. And yet it refuses to die. Jules Verne sent characters into it in 1864. Edgar Rice Burroughs built an entire civilization inside it. Nazi occultists believed it. Admiral Richard Byrd, one of the most celebrated explorers of the 20th century, allegedly made statements about it that his supporters still cite today. The Hollow Earth theory sits at a peculiar intersection. It is scientifically untenable by any current understanding of physics and geology, and yet it has attracted, across the centuries, a remarkable number of people who were not stupid, not uneducated, and not obviously crazy. Why does this idea keep coming back? What is it about the interior of our own planet that the human imagination cannot leave alone? That is the question at the center of tonight's story. Section 3. Background. The idea of a hollow, inhabited underworld is not a modern invention. It is, in some form, one of the oldest ideas in human culture. The ancient Greeks believed in the underworld, a subterranean realm of the dead, ruled by Hades, accessible through caves and underground rivers. The Norse had Niflheim, a world of ice and darkness beneath the roots of the world tree. The Aztecs believed in Mictlan, an underworld of 9 levels. Hindu cosmology described Patala, 7 realms beneath the Earth's surface, inhabited by supernatural beings. Almost every major culture in human history has placed something significant beneath the ground. These are myths, of course, but myths are not random. They reflect deep structures of human thought, fears, hopes, explanations for phenomena that couldn't otherwise be explained. The transition from mythological underworlds to scientific Hollow Earth theory happened gradually, during the 17th and 18th centuries, as European science began trying to explain the physical world in mathematical terms. And it began with a man whose scientific credentials were, by any measure, impeccable. Edmund Halley. Yes, the same Edmund Halley after whom Halley's Comet is named. Fellow of the Royal Society, Astronomer Royal of England. The man who encouraged Isaac Newton to publish the Principia Mathematica and paid for its printing out of his own pocket. In 1692, Halley published a paper in the Philosophical Transactions of the Royal Society proposing that the Earth consisted of a hollow shell about 500 miles thick, with 2 inner shells and a central innermost sphere, all rotating at slightly different rates, all potentially habitable, lit by a luminous atmosphere within. He proposed this to explain a genuine scientific puzzle. Anomalies encompass readings that suggested the Earth's magnetic field was more complex than a simple dipole. This was not a mystic or a crank. This was one of the premier scientists of the Enlightenment, attempting to solve a real problem with a creative model. He was wrong, but the idea he launched would echo through the centuries. Section 4, the complete story. Chapter 1. John Clevey Sims and the holes at the poles. The most influential figure in the history of Hollow Earth theory was not a scientist at all. He was an American military officer named John Clevey Sims Jr. In 1818. Sims mailed a circular letter to every member of Congress, every university, and every notable public figure he could identify in the United States and Europe. The letter read, in part, "I declare the Earth is hollow and habitable within, containing a number of solid concentric spheres, one within the other, and that it is open at the poles 12 or 16 degrees. He proposed what became known as Sims holes, vast circular openings at the north and south poles, through which one could theoretically descend into the interior. Sims spent the rest of his life lecturing, petitioning Congress for a polar expedition, and building a following of genuine believers. He never reached the poles. He never found the holes. He died in 1829, having convinced no scientific institution of his theory, but having planted the idea in the popular imagination with extraordinary effectiveness. His disciple, a man named Jeremiah Reynolds, eventually helped convince Congress to fund a South Pole expedition, though it became a conventional scientific survey rather than a hollow Earth search. But Sims' most enduring contribution was not scientific. It was literary. His ideas directly inspired Edgar Allan Poe's unfinished novel The Narrative of Arthur Gordon Pym of Nantucket, which ends with a ship sailing toward a mysterious white void at the South Pole. And Poe's novel, in turn, inspired Jules Verne. And Jules Verne's Journey to the Center of the Earth, published in 1864, introduced the hollow Earth to millions of readers worldwide, and locked the image so deeply into popular culture that it has never fully left. Chapter 2. The Nazi connection. In the early 20th century, the hollow Earth theory underwent a strange transformation. It merged with occultism. In the years between World War I and World War II, a cluster of esoteric groups in Germany and Austria became obsessed with the idea of a hidden interior world, not as geology, but as cosmology and mythology. The most influential of these groups developed what they called the Weltallehre, the world ice theory, which proposed an alternative cosmology in which the Earth had been shaped by cosmic ice. Hollow Earth ideas became intertwined with this framework. The Thule Society, a German occultist organization with connections to the early Nazi Party, incorporated hollow Earth elements into their mythology. They believed in a master race that had retreated into the interior of the Earth in prehistoric times, waiting to return. Heinrich Himmler, head of the SS, was deeply interested in occult pseudoscience. There are documented accounts of SS expeditions searching for esoteric knowledge in Tibet, Iceland, and elsewhere. Expeditions that, in some versions of the legend, were also searching for access to the inner Earth. The exact extent of Nazi institutional belief in hollow Earth theory is disputed. Some historians argue it was largely fringe, embraced by a few eccentric figures rather than mainstream Nazi ideology. What is not disputed is that the intersection of hollow Earth mythology with fascist racial theory produced one of the most dangerous fusions of pseudoscience and ideology in modern history. The idea of a hidden master race, dwelling beneath the surface of the Earth, waiting to emerge, that is not a harmless legend. That is a myth that was weaponized. Chapter 3. Admiral Byrd and the legend that won't die. Of all the figures associated with the modern hollow Earth legend, none is invoked more frequently, or more misleadingly, than Rear Admiral Richard E. Byrd. Byrd was a genuine American hero. He made the first flight over the South Pole in 1929. He led 5 major expeditions to Antarctica. He was awarded the Medal of Honor. He is also the central figure in one of the most persistent hollow Earth legends of the 20th century. The legend goes like this. During one of his polar expeditions, most versions say 1947, Byrd flew into a hole at the North Pole and entered the interior of the Earth, where he encountered a warm, green landscape populated by mammoths and advanced beings who warned humanity about its nuclear weapons development. This story is sourced from a document called The Secret Diary of Admiral Byrd, which circulated in the 1970s and continues to be reprinted and shared online today. The problem is fundamental. There is no credible evidence that this diary is authentic. It does not appear in the U.S. Navy's archives. It was not published during Byrd's lifetime. It appeared decades after his death in 1957. Byrd's actual diary from his 1947 expedition, the Operation High Jump Expedition, is a documented, archived historical record. It contains no account of flying into a hollow earth. What Byrd did say, in a 1947 interview and in other documented statements, was that he believed the polar regions were strategically important and that Antarctica in particular held vast unexplored territory. This is not the same as claiming to have entered the Earth's interior. But the legend took those real statements, combined them with the fabricated diary, and created a mythology around one of America's most respected explorers. The Byrd legend tells us something important. The hollow Earth theory needs credible names attached to it. It borrows authority from real figures to lend legitimacy to claims those figures never actually made. Sound familiar? Chapter 4. The modern hollow Earth communities. The hollow Earth theory did not die with the 20th century. It evolved. Today, there are online communities, YouTube channels, podcasts, and self-published books dedicated to variations of hollow Earth belief. Some are straightforwardly conspiratorial, arguing that governments know about the inner Earth and are suppressing the knowledge. Others are spiritual, framing the inner Earth as a realm of higher dimensional beings or ancient civilizations. There are people who have invested real money, real time, and real emotional energy into these beliefs. In 2020 and beyond, hollow Earth theory became part of the broader QAnon and alternative reality ecosystem, combined with other conspiracy theories into a sprawling, unfalsifiable worldview in which everything hidden is connected. The theory is no longer just a scientific hypothesis or even a straightforward conspiracy. It has become, for its most committed believers, a complete alternative cosmology, a way of understanding the world that is fundamentally incompatible with mainstream science, and yet emotionally and socially rewarding for those inside it. Section 5. Theories. Theory 1. The scientific reality. What we actually know. Modern geology and geophysics have built an extraordinarily detailed picture of the Earth's interior, without ever directly observing it. The primary tool is seismology. When earthquakes occur, they send waves through the planet in multiple forms, P waves and S waves, which travel at different speeds and behave differently in materials of different densities. By analyzing how these waves travel, refract, and reflect, seismologists have been able to map the Earth's interior with remarkable precision. The picture that emerges is definitively not hollow. The Earth has a crust, thin, solid, ranging from about 3 miles thick under the oceans to about 25 miles under continents. And at the center is the inner core, solid iron, about 760 miles in radius, under pressures of approximately 3.6 million atmospheres. There is no room for a hollow interior. The seismic data does not permit it. The mass and density of the planet, calculated from its gravitational effects, is consistent with a dense, solid interior and inconsistent with a hollow one. Is a documented, archived historical record. It contains no account of flying into a hollow Earth. What Byrd did say, in a 1947 interview and in other documented statements, was that he believed the polar regions were strategically important and that Antarctica in particular held vast unexplored territory. This is not the same as claiming to have entered the Earth's interior, but the legend took those real statements, combined them with the fabricated diary, and created a mythology around one of America's most respected explorers, the Byrd. Legend tells us something important. The hollow Earth theory needs credible names attached to it. It borrows authority from real figures to lend legitimacy to claims those figures never actually made. Sound familiar? Chapter 4. The modern hollow Earth communities. The hollow Earth theory did not die with the 20th century. It evolved. Today, there are online communities, YouTube channels, podcasts, and self-published books dedicated to variations of hollow Earth belief. Some are straightforwardly conspiratorial, arguing that governments know about the inner Earth and are suppressing the knowledge. Others are spiritual, framing the inner earth as a realm of higher dimensional beings or ancient civilizations. A location called Agartha, a name drawn from theosophical literature of the 19th century, has become the standard term for the supposed inner world in modern New Age Hollow Earth belief. Agartha is described as a vast, luminous civilization beneath the surface, home to enlightened beings who occasionally emerge to guide humanity. There are people who claim to have received communications from Agartha. There are people who organize expeditions to find the polar openings. There are people who have invested real money, real time, and real emotional energy into these beliefs. In 2020 and beyond, Hollow Earth theory became part of the broader QAnon and alternative reality ecosystem, combined with other conspiracy theories into a sprawling, unfalsifiable worldview in which everything hidden is connected. The theory is no longer just a scientific hypothesis or even a straightforward conspiracy. It has become, for its most committed believers, a complete alternative cosmology, a way of understanding the world that is fundamentally incompatible with mainstream science, and yet emotionally and socially rewarding for those inside it. Section 5. Theories. Theory 1. The scientific reality, what we actually know. Modern geology and geophysics have built an extraordinarily detailed picture of the Earth's interior, without ever directly observing it. The primary tool is seismology. When earthquakes occur, they send waves through the planet in multiple forms, P waves and S waves, which travel at different speeds and behave differently in materials of different densities. By analyzing how these waves travel, refract, and reflect, seismologists have been able to map the Earth's interior with remarkable precision. The picture that emerges is definitively not hollow. The Earth has a crust, thin, solid, ranging from about 3 miles thick under the oceans to about 25 miles under continents. Beneath the crust is the mantle, nearly 1,800 miles of rock that behaves like a very slow-moving fluid over geological timescales, driven by convection currents from the heat. Below, beneath the mantle is the outer core, liquid iron and nickel, about 1,400 miles thick, whose motion generates the Earth's magnetic field. And at the center is the inner core, solid iron, about 760 miles in radius, under pressures of approximately 3.6 million atmospheres. There is no room for a hollow interior. The seismic data does not permit it. The mass and density of the planet, calculated from its gravitational effects, is consistent with a dense, solid interior and inconsistent with a hollow one. Theory 2. The literary and mythological engine. One of the most important things to understand about Hollow Earth theory is that it has been kept alive not primarily by scientific argument, but by storytelling. From Dante's Inferno to Jules Verne to Edgar Rice Burroughs' Pellucidar series to the modern video game Hollow Knight, the idea of a world beneath ours has proven irresistible to human imagination. This tells us something important. The Hollow Earth is not really about geology. It is about the human need for a world beyond the visible world, a place where things are different, where there is more space, more mystery, more possibility than the surface world allows. Every culture has a version of this. The underworld, the fairy realm beneath the hills, the lost civilization beneath the ice. The Hollow Earth theory is the modern, pseudoscientific expression of one of humanity's deepest imaginative needs. Theory 3. The psychological dimension. Why conspiracy theories fill a need. Psychologists who study belief in conspiracy theories have identified several consistent patterns. People are more likely to embrace alternative worldviews when they feel that mainstream institutions have failed them or deceived them, when they feel powerless or excluded from decision-making, when they are searching for community and belonging. The Hollow Earth theory, in its modern conspiratorial form, offers all of these things. It provides a comprehensive alternative explanation for reality. It identifies a hidden enemy, governments and scientific institutions that are suppressing the truth. It offers an in-group of people who see through the deception. And it provides the profound emotional satisfaction of believing that the world is more wondrous than it appears. These are not small things. They are genuine human needs. The problem is not that people who believe in Hollow Earth theory are stupid. The problem is that they are meeting real emotional needs through a factually incorrect framework. Theory 4. The genuine scientific mysteries of the deep Earth. Here is something that does not get discussed often enough in conversations about hollow Earth theory. The Earth's interior is, in fact, full of genuine mysteries that mainstream science has not resolved. The exact mechanism by which the inner core formed, and the timeline of its formation, is still debated. The inner core appears to have structure, distinct regions that behave differently from each other. That is not fully explained. There are anomalous regions at the base of the mantle, dense, slow-moving blobs of material that researchers call large low-shear velocity provinces, whose precise composition and origin remain unclear. The Earth generates a magnetic field that has reversed polarity hundreds of times in its history. And while scientists understand the general mechanism, the precise trigger for reversals is not known. None of these mysteries support the hollow Earth theory, but they do support the idea that the Earth's interior is stranger and more complex than simple models suggest. The genuine scientific frontier of deep Earth research is, in its own way, as fascinating as any legend. Theory 5. The conspiracy and suppression narrative. For committed hollow Earth believers, the absence of confirmatory evidence is not a problem. The polar openings exist and are guarded. Satellite imagery is doctored. Scientific institutions are complicit in the cover-up. People who get too close to the truth are silenced. This is the structure of an unfalsifiable belief system. Every piece of counter-evidence becomes evidence of the conspiracy. The more thoroughly the theory is debunked, the deeper the cover-up must be. This unfalsifiability is not unique to hollow Earth theory. It is a structural feature of many conspiracy theories, but it does explain why the theory persists despite overwhelming scientific consensus against it. When a belief system is structured so that no evidence can disprove it, the only thing that can change a believer's mind is something other than evidence. That Section 6, that deep analysis. Contradiction 1. The most serious advocates were real scientists. Here is the central tension in the history of hollow Earth theory. Its most significant early proponents, Edmund Halley, Leonard Euler, and others, were not cranks. They were serious thinkers working within the scientific paradigms of their time, attempting to solve real problems. Halley proposed his hollow Earth model to explain magnetic anomalies. Euler, one of the greatest mathematicians in history, proposed a version with a central sun to explain polar light phenomena. These were wrong, but they were scientifically motivated wrongness, the kind of creative overreach that happens at the frontier of knowledge before better tools and better data become available. What changed was not that the people asking the questions got less intelligent. What changed was that the evidence accumulated to the point where the theory was no longer tenable. The tragedy of the modern hollow Earth movement is that it has preserved the romantic wonder of the early speculations while discarding the scientific discipline that originally motivated them. Contradiction 2. The theory cannot explain what it claims to explain. The hollow Earth theory was originally proposed to explain specific natural phenomena, magnetic anomalies, polar lights. Those phenomena now have well-understood explanations that don't require a hollow interior. The modern hollow Earth theory has inverted this relationship. Instead of being proposed to explain known phenomena, it now requires the suppression or denial of known phenomena. The seismic data, the gravitational data, the volcanic activity that requires a molten interior. In order to survive, the IT has moved from being an explanatory theory to being a theory that can only persist by rejecting the evidence. That is a journey in the wrong direction. Contradiction 3. The inner Earth that science has actually discovered here is a genuine scientific story that almost no one knows. In 2016, researchers studying the cycling of water through the Earth's interior discovered evidence for something extraordinary. A vast reservoir of water locked inside a mineral called ringwoodite, deep in the mantle. Some estimates suggest this reservoir could contain as much water as all of the Earth's surface oceans combined. It is not liquid water. It is water molecules locked inside the crystal structure of rock under enormous pressure. It cannot be accessed. It does not contain life as we understand it, but it means that the Earth's interior contains something vast and hidden that most people have never heard of. The real interior of the Earth is strange. Not hollow, not inhabited, but genuinely, profoundly strange in ways that legitimate science is still working to understand. The hollow Earth theory has been wrong about the specifics for 300 years, but it may have been right about the intuition. There is more down there than most people imagine. Section 7. Modern implications. The hollow earth theory matters today for reasons that go beyond the theory itself. It is a case study in how ideas resist extinction, how pseudoscientific frameworks survive the accumulation of contradicting evidence, how human psychological needs for wonder, for community, for alternative explanations can sustain a belief system long after its empirical foundations have been demolished. And in the digital age, these dynamics have been amplified enormously. A person interested in hollow earth theory in 1970 had access to a limited number of books, a few like-minded acquaintances, and perhaps a local club or newsletter. A person interested in hollow earth theory today has access to thousands of hours of YouTube content, active online communities with hundreds of thousands of members, self-published books available globally, and algorithmic recommendation systems that will actively serve them more of whatever they already believe. The hollow earth theory has not gotten more credible, but it has become vastly more accessible, more socially reinforced, and more entangled with other alternative belief systems. This is a microcosm of a much larger phenomenon, that we live in an era where the infrastructure for spreading ideas has never been more powerful, and where the infrastructure for evaluating the quality of ideas has never been more overwhelmed. The hollow earth is not the most dangerous conspiracy theory circulating today, not by a long way. But the dynamics that sustain it are the same dynamics that sustain beliefs with far more serious consequences. Understanding why the hollow earth persists is, in a very real sense, understanding how all persistent misinformation works. Section 8. Final King. You have traveled a long way tonight. From Edmund Halley's elegant, wrong hypothesis in the Royal Society's Journal, to John Clevy's Sims petitioning Congress for a polar expedition, to Jules Verne sending his readers into the center of the earth, to Nazi occultists weaponizing the legend, to the fabricated diary of Admiral Byrd, to the modern online communities building cathedrals of belief beneath the surface of the internet. What does it all mean? The earth is not hollow. That is as close to a certainty as science offers.